Break from the ordinary, do what's necessary, pray. Pray for death, pray for ecstasy. Skin of the human shell so broken and frail. Lock the gates behind the hurricanes.
So hello, Fernando and Ricardo. So first, thanks for the interview.
No problem.
My first question: the last time I saw you, Fernando, that was here at the Helffest 2019 for a promotional interview. Any news since the last time?
Well, I cut my hair. I grew a beard. I drank a lot of whiskey. And the world was really shitty since then. That's the bad news. And the good news is that it seems that we are back. We made a newer album, Hermitage, and we're still together to celebrate our 30 years this year, 1992, 2022. So even though it seems like the world came to an halt, to a stop, a lot of things happened, yeah. So I mean, the best thing that happened is that we kept ourselves together and alive and well, and so did you, so we can meet at the Helffest again, yeah.
Ricardo, you wrote the Moonspell biography.
No, you didn't.
The
Same name.
same name? Oh shit! Oh, sorry.
No, we get it all.
But you participate for the book.
Yeah, we all participate.
Can you speak about this book?
Well, I can tell you about the process. Basically, the journalist who wrote it is a good friend of ours. He
Same
has
name as you.
same name as me. Coincidences, you know. And I mean, it was great. We had a bunch of sessions while we just talk about things that happened throughout our career, stories, and have a few beers. So yeah, I mean, it was great. The book came out really nice because, I mean, it's not just the backstage party stories, but it's mostly of what's on our mind and what we were going through at the time and what we were thinking about every time we made a decision and I mean, every step we would take during our career. It's a very personal thing, you know. So yeah, it's well written, and it puts people in context, like regarding what Portugal was back then when we showed up as a band and the metal scene, etc. So there's a lot of valuable information there, and it's a nice book. We're really happy.
Never read it.
You never read it?
No.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Danny Fields from Field wrote the introduction. Have you a regard for? Do you choose? You choose Danny Fields, or the publisher choose Danny?
Ricardo, the book author, one of the conditions of the book is that it should have a lot of autonomy, so that it wouldn't be the Moonspell story according is the members of Moonspell, because we all have a different story, a different experience of playing in Moonspell. Maybe if I wrote biography, I would say the vocals are great and the singer is the most important guy, but I think having someone from the outside of the band, like a journalist, really helped the you know, the writing of the book to be more authentic. On the other hand, obviously he had a previous interview with me saying, I want to talk about this, I need all these contacts of people, and we need to find someone that writes the foreword. So I suggested Danny Field, because Danny is one of our oldest friends in the scene. Also, the bands have a common story, let's call it this way, them in the UK, us in Portugal, where we were born in the underground days. We had the demos, we know each other since then, since 1990, 1991. And also because Danny is a huge Moonspell and a huge metal fan. You know, he listens to a lot of music. He's always tipping me on new bands, and we always talking and texting about music, and also he writes very well. So I think that the kind of foreword or preface that we will have by Danny Field, it will be something really like the lyrics of Cradle of Filth, something really, I would say, classy. So I suggested him, and he accepted it, and yeah. And for the French edition, we have Sir Cédric, the horror writer, which is also a big fan and friend of us, and he also wrote about his own flattering experience with Moonspell. It's very great to have all these people, you know, joining to enrich our history. Yeah.
In the book, I read that the beginning of the band was very difficult. Can you speak about this period?
Well, Ricardo came in '95, but it was a different beginning. I think Moonspell has two beginnings. The one when we were like very young, in '89, '90, up to, especially to '92, when we changed the name from Morbid God to Moonspell. It was very hard because we couldn't play. Nothing, you know. The drummer that we had, he thought that he would sit down in the drums and start playing drums. But no, you need some talent, you know. So it was years that we were there, you know, just the heads against the wall, not knowing. There was not really a black metal scene in Portugal, so we felt very alone. But fortunately we started writing with people from everywhere in the world, and it kind of excited us. You know, we got bands from all parts of the world, from overseas, from Asia, from Europe. And then we finally went to record for the first time in studio, which was really funny because we couldn't play anything, you know. And those kinds of difficulties that teenagers have when they start a band, you know, no money, no future, no instruments, parents saying your music is horrible, go cut your hair, you know, go study, get a job. So I think that's the part of the band, but it's the beginning of the band. But it was also very nice because to go through that, because it makes us very connected with the past. We know it was hard, and nowadays it's a bit easier for Portuguese bands because they know already the process. So then, up to Wolf Art, Ricardo wasn't in our band, he was in a different band. But then in Wolf Art, we had like our big crisis in the band. Our two guitar players went out, and Ricardo came in, you know, to replace them both. So I think it was a very nice progress to the band. So,
hey, I'm just happy I got the job. So I haven't lived those moments, so I mean, it's hard for me to talk about it. What I could say is that I was following the band before I joined. And I was following the band before I joined. I was a fan already, and you know, the cool thing is that we're not talking about a bunch of educated musicians that got together with their egos, you know, to make a band and try to be whatever rock stars. No, we're talking about a group of people that had a passion for music, and they had such a romantic idea of forming a band that they formed the band, and they realized that, okay, now we formed a band, we're a band, but dude, we gotta learn how to play. And that's the progress they made together, you know. And I think that's very, that's amazing, you know. It's very real, it's very honest, you know. It's just a bunch of guys who had an idea, and they worked together to make that idea happen.
Make a gothic metal band, and for the beginning kind of black metal band in a Catholic country is not difficult.
We never had any problems. You know, the church in Portugal is so cut and distant from social life. They had no idea what black metal was, you know. So we have a different relationship also, because we're not from Norway, you know. We were born, not born, but we were raised Catholic, and obviously we expected to have some kind of problems, but we were never persecuted, because I think that after '74, when I was born, after the end of the dictatorship, I think that the Catholic Church lost a lot of power in Portugal. Nowadays it's a bit harder, I would say. But yeah, I don't remember having any censorship because of the black metal roots back then.
Another question, you played the opening of Nodi at the Channel TV ATP1. How did you have this idea? That was so funny.
Well, I'm very surprised you know Nodi. But it was like a comic moment, and there was these comedians in Portugal. They had like a, how do you call it, sitcom? Not a sitcom, it's a talk show. A talk show. Sorry. So about Nodi. Yeah, they had a talk show. They were a really huge humor, but very quality humor group in Portugal. So they got big and they went on television, and we are from the same generation. So they invited a couple of Portuguese musicians and artists to go there and to do something people weren't expecting at all. So they suggested us to do like a metal version of the original song of Nodi. And we said, well, why the hell not? We were fans of the show. There were some other artists that did really cool stuff, so we did something really extreme, like almost death metal, you know, to shock people. And we never thought it was such a big deal. It was just a moment. We never thought people would watch it, but a lot of people watch it. I lived in downtown Lisbon back then, and when I came out of my apartment, there was a school, and all the kids were looking at me. Say, you're the Nodi senor, you know, like monsieur. I said, no, but I saw you yesterday. I said, but you should be in bed, you know. And then I watched it on YouTube. It was just funny. I mean, it wasn't our idea, but the execution was pretty funny, and people loved it. After a couple of, we were at Universal Music back then. They wanted us to record it, you know, to sell it. Said, no, we're not going to record it. It was just for the TV show. And then we had a couple of signs, but then they died out, saying, "Play Nodi, please play Nodi." Yeah. Well, we never did. We're such bastards.
Your last album, Hermitage, was released in 2021. Do you work on a new album?
Do you work on a new album?
We're gathering ideas, basically, to understand where can we go. You know, it's like we're just in the primordials of making a record. It's always like there's an idea, okay, and we start to throw ideas on the table and see if there's something in common there that identifies what the album is going to be. So it's a very early stage, yes, but we're already setting ourselves to the idea that, yeah, we're making a new record.
I think next year we're going to have it.
When you look at the past, do you have any regrets, something to change if you have the possibility?
I will never have formed the band. I will be a teacher. That's what I was studying for a teacher of philosophy. I don't have any. I know it's a good question, but it's hard for me to think about the band like this because time doesn't stop. You know, time is always like we are 30 years this year. Sometimes it looks like we are in the band for 300 years when we are very tired. Sometimes it felt like it just started yesterday. You know, so I think that only when the band is no more can we answer properly that kind of question. I should have done this, I should have done this. Obviously there's mistakes, there's things that you could have avoided maybe, but it's time wasted, you know, to be thinking about what you've done, but not only about the stuff you regret, but also the stuff you are proud of, you know, because you are as good as your last show. You are as good as the last album and your legacy. So everything else is just a fabrication of people. You know, sometimes when people tell me, oh, you were so good at Wolfhard, I'd say, we weren't so good. We were very young back then. And you're not angry at me because we are doing different music. You're angry with the world, and we are a scapegoat because you were young and you could drink all night and not have a hangover, you know. So this nostalgia thing, etc., it can be beautiful, but it also can disturb, can get in the way. That's why I always try to listen. For instance, if I'm just like Seventh Son of a Seventh Son or Power Slave, I would have missed how do you call it, Senjutsu. I would have missed it, and it's a great album, you know. If I only liked, and I do love, like, Walls of Jericho from Halloween, I would have missed the opportunity of listening to the new album, which is amazing. It's one of the best albums. So yeah, I think that music, it's a constant flow, and we cannot handle the time, you know. So I never regret anything, and I don't feel especially proud. I feel lucky most of the days to come out of Portugal and to play at the Helffest, you know. Today there was another Portuguese band here, Gaeria. They were here. There was Sinistro back in the day, I think. But not many Portuguese bands played here. So, and it's just already the fourth or the fifth time. So that's what I am, you know, happy for. Yeah.
So my next question is, what do you think of the Portuguese metal scene?
Do you know it?
I have absolutely no opinion right now. Excuse my arrogance, but I don't know. I just don't care about it. The reason is, it sounds arrogant, I know. The reason is that the scene itself doesn't care about it, you know. And I'm not gonna spend my time and effort praying for people who don't want to listen to, you know. They rather point our fingers at us to calling us whatever they want because we achieved something, rather looking at themselves and realize what they can do to improve, you know. It's the scene that consumes itself. So I'm sorry, but this is the way I am, and this is the way I feel about it.
There's two scenes in Portugal. The one that Ricardo says, and that is very harsh on us, especially on myself. I've been called everything in Portugal. But it's a Portuguese thing. It's like a small village. But there's also talented and ambitious people. So I always been a lot into the Portuguese bands. Since the past, we had good bands like Tormentor, The Coven, you know, we have Massive Roar. And then the scene was just like, people were trying to emulate a lot of the Pantera sound, now the Lamb of God sound, and there was not a lot of room for originality. But in the 90s there was good bands like Heavenwood, Anima, you know, Bizarre Locomotive, which is not really a metal band, like Locomotive Bizarre, like we say in probably French. And now I have formed a label called Alma Mater Records, and we do the distribution of Moonspell in Portugal. We do the back catalog of Moonspell, like Wolf Art, and you got some Alma Mater Records there. That's my label. And also we are signing Portuguese and Brazilian bands because they also deserve a chance, regardless of what Ricardo says. And true, and it's a fact, but I try also to choose the bands who have a nice attitude. So right now, for instance, today was released an album called Slaves Beneath the Sun by Process of Guilt, an amazing band, not like really metal, but more for the fans of Neurosis, Godflesh, this kind of stuff, you know, industrial, indie, doom metal. And it's also coming the second album of a really cool upcoming Portuguese death metal band called Occultists. I also released Troops of Doom, which is Gyro Tormentor, Forma Sepultura original guitar player album. The album is called Antichrist Reborn, and it's one of the best death metal albums. So yeah, Ricardo is one of the person that, you know, kind of minds more his own business, and got flashbacks. But I kind of try to help the Portuguese scene. But sometimes I regret it, because sometimes they say a lot of shit about me, and that it's uncalled for. But I wish everyone luck, yeah, because we all need luck.
In the book, you talk about Corten, Celtic Frost as an influence. How these artists inspired you?
Well, I met Corten in 1990, so I was directly inspired by his nice manners, his talent, and he was really like altogether an inspirational person. I was just 16, it was 1990, and the way he talked to the fans just clicked something inside me that made me want to have a band and try to emulate his work. And also these bands, like especially Bathory and Celtic Frost, they have probably the best black metal and dark metal legacy. You see by Triptychon as well, which is an amazing group. But they were no strangers to innovation, you know. Bathory did The Return of Darkness and Evil, but did Twilight of the Gods as well. Celtic Frost did Morbid Tales, but did To Megatherion, but did Into the Pandemonium, or even Vanity Nemesis. You know, so their stand, they love the music, their avant-garde spirit as well. They really inspired me. And also I've read the biographies of Celtic Frost, Am I Morbid, and the Hellhammer. And also a little bit, there's a Bathory biography in Spanish. I read it as well. I knew a lot of stuff about it. I'm contributing to a new Bathory book as well. So they just inspire many bands like this. But I think if I had to pick up 3 that inspired our sound and attitude, will be Bathory, Celtic Frost, and Typo Negative, which was a band that we also toured with back in the day, and a band that changed my way of looking to a lot of stuff. Yeah. Coucou.
2 minutes? 2 minutes? Okay, cool.
For all listeners and Moonspell fans, do you have any last words?
Merci bien et santé.
Merci pour votre
Nous vous souhaitons
soutien.
une belle Helffest, and that's about as my French goes. But we'd like to thank you for all the support and for all these years under the spell, and thank you for the interview as well. Yeah.
À bientôt.